Architect Léonie Geisendorf had a very strong presence when I was studying architecture at KTH in the 80s. She came in as a critic, very sharp tongue, extremely knowledgeable, bringing Europe to Sweden at the time. Having worked with Le Corbusier, she knew what she was talking about. So she was both feared and so respected in the Stockholm discourse at the time, actually over several decades. I think many of the people here today have the same memory. When I met her, she was planning an exhibition, and I had been recommended, I was starting my PhD studies, I was recommended to work with her, and this was the beginning of a very long friendship that continued until she died in 2016. Because this is not a young lady, and I don't know what you give her here in terms of age, but she's 76 here, which means that she's already had 2 wars behind her. She was born in Poland. She studied at ETH in Zurich. At ETH, Le Corbusier had a very strong presence. He tried to get a professorship there, but he didn't get it. So the students very often moved to Paris, and she worked for him before she decided, a little bit like you heard just now, the socio-political situation was a very big curiosity and an interest and a necessity for architects who wanted to work. We were very curious why she had done such a small production, and this is something that I discuss in this article, and I won't have much time for it here. But the catalogue one of the exhibition, it was not a retrospective. It was at the Art Academy, this exhibition, for a month. It was really to get more commissions. She was not yet ready to retire at all, and she did continue designing, I would say, almost until the very end. And I was with her when yes, we don't take that now. But I start the article by mentioning Solkatten, because the only thing that was clear when we did the exhibition on the catalogue was this photo must be in there. And what is Solkatten? There were so many photos of this building. It was highly disseminated and covered by media internationally. But Solkatten, this little prism here, actually explains the whole building, because she uses the best instrument for architects, namely light. So this photo shows what concrete can be if well treated, what materials can do if well placed. And of course, those of us who are familiar with Le Corbusier can read that through this building easily. We come in here, and so the street is actually in the building as well. Do you see? It's not an interior. It's somehow a public space, almost like the entrance hall of the city hall that Ann-Katrin showed. We see a lot of things here: the casting, the fantastic quality of the casting, and we can study the drawings, and we know that everything was designed. All the wood for the casting, of course, was designed 1:1 scale. So the building is actually it's a school where young people would train to become cooks or to learn how to do crafts of different kinds. And the office is not only Léonie Geisendorf, it's also Charles-Édouard, her husband, that she, so to say, brought with her from Zurich. They had been studying together. She might have ended up otherwise in Norway for several reasons. The building is ready around about 1960-61, and they started designing it actually in 1954. It's unique because it's trying out so many new technologies here. The prefabricated steel, the facade materials. There's a lot of new aspects that we had not seen in Stockholm at this time or anywhere. So it's an experimental building, also in its program to build a school vertically. Why? Well, for her it was natural, or for them it was natural, because it freed up space for a good schoolyard. So here we see Léonie Geisendorf, and she was always very insistent that this is a project by the office, by the two of them, by a whole team. But having studied the timesheets from the time, I can now show, that she did most of the work. And there is a question in the air always when we talk about Léonie Geisendorf, because she has such a small production. People have experiences of meeting her. She was very tough and demanding, which you probably have to be to realize any of the buildings that we've seen today. So here we see her with this model was conceived within a week, she says, and then you just had to draw it. Everything is there, you just then need to draw it up. For her, the composition, anläggning in Swedish, is a word that she never lets go of. Very appreciative of the new possibilities. So this interior, of course, very, very beautiful, also furnished with Scandinavian designers, generally an amazing entrance, which also functions as the aula or as the lecture, at the ceremonial space for everything. But she knew that people would be meeting here. There are stairs, there are ways of leaving and coming into the space so that you actually meet and you see each other. She was extremely interested in the people factor. And again, you see here the sketch is what we saw in the photo. Nothing really changes. She has it in her head and you just need to draw it. So in 1957, just to take when they're really working hard here now on this project, and they have 3 children, but Charles Edouard is actually now taking on a professorship in Zurich. So she is alone with the responsibility in Stockholm from now on. And so if you remember, I said she was 76 in the 1990s, and actually here she has life ahead. She's done this extremely large building. You would think that there are numerous commissions coming after this. Yes, international design and a very international practice. So here I have to correct Frank. This is a public building by Swiss architects. In Stockholm, but there are also extremely beautiful examples. Tia Leonard was the interior designer, Finnish, Finlandssvensk. Kåre Klint, all the Scandinavian new designers at the time were represented in this building until it was sold. On the floor plan, we see how we enter. We see how this sort of continues. The exterior continues to the interior, and it's really a blending of a schoolyard of a new kind. In the paper, I have quoted comments from the time, and especially the colleague Sensilov has written very beautifully about the building, but he also uses this word of a foreign bird. Of course, it's a reference to the building. We have not seen this kind of construction in Stockholm at this moment. But I discussed that it's maybe also the foreignness of the architects that have something in this. Another comment from Karin Winter. It's not inte en finlemmad funkis. So this is not really aligned with what we just saw. The Swedish canon that is developing with all these architects that actually Léonie Geisendorf knows very well. In 1938, when she lands in Sweden, she starts working at Sven-Ivar Lind. She continues with Gustav Holmdahl, Paul Hedqvist. She's extremely Swedish in her architectural foundation. At the same time, she has another way of interpreting what she also brings with her. So there is something new or something mediated through Léonie Geisendorf is what I try to discuss. And finally, le point d'or is in this composition where everything was drawn. In the office, now in the archives, you have the drawings also for this aula that was never executed in the 1960s. She was, of course, always hoping that it would be done. And when she heard that the school had been sold by the city to Svenska Bostäder, a housing company, and would be transformed to student housing, we were about to celebrate her 100th birthday. So she was horizontally, just on her deathbed, you can say. We gave her the drawings, and she was furious and sad, astonished. Why a school? Why it's designed as a school? Why not do an aula? Why change this into a different program? She had no understanding for the interest in creating student housing in Stockholm, and she ordered me to talk to the architects, make a change, talk to everyone. And maybe some of you were part of the celebration of her 100th birthday at Architects Museum, where she actually spoke from Paris straight out and said, you know, this building must be saved. Instead, this part that was never built was also transformed into student housing. But I am sure that if she was here and she would walk there today, she would at least be happy that there are young people moving around in her building. That's it. I was not even...